Lord. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? Currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka spoiler alert, episode number 773, wherein we will review this past week's comics as well as talk about some fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. Maybe things like Peacemaker. Who's to say? We are, because it's our show. I'm your host, Johnny the Destructo of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A super rad shop, which caters to super rad folks, except for people with stinky armpits. Don't bring that in. Don't bring that to me. Joining me tonight are Noel Bartocci and Brian Lieb. Hi, Noel. Oh, hi, Brian.
Hi. I had a word.
I'm sorry, but I'm not. But I'm sorry, but I'm not. But I'm.
Discussion topic. Shut up, Noel.
Let's talk. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about Noel shutting up. Discussion topic. What are your thoughts regarding Dark Crisis? Excited? Upset? Intrigued? Indifferent? Aroused? Yeah. All right. First of all, I answer your question with a question. Even though I read the question, it was Noel's question. My question is, what's Dark Crisis?
Brian, would you like to give a quick pitch of Dark Crisis, the upcoming DC event?
Well, that's what I was going to say about it. It is the upcoming DC event. I guess it spins out of the Infinite Frontier and Justice League Incarnate. I liked Infinite Frontier a lot. I have not gotten through the first part of the first issue of Incarnate, and I never went back to it.
It is the new that's been all leading up to this, and yeah. So it's coming out of Death Metal, all of the Infinite Frontier stuff, and it's led to a Dark Army.
There's a Dark Army?
Yeah, it's like Darkseid and
right. Well, he's got Barry,
Eclipso, and someone else. I don't really know.
Oh
yeah.
So I was interested in the end of that, like the end of Infinite Frontier. I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool.
Didn't read it. Either way, hang on, let me finish. That Dark Army apparently is going to kill the Justice League, and then something else is going to happen that is Dark Crisis. Like, it's explicitly called Dark Crisis, and it will be Joshua Williamson and Chris Sampier.
I have no idea who that second guy is.
Artist?
Yeah,
oh, okay, artist. Okay.
But yeah, it's the big. It's this summer's big, and the only reason why Marvel does an event every quarter. They just do. Every 3 to 4 months is a Marvel event crossover. DC does them every other year, like big events. I'm not talking about Infinite Frontier. That's not an event.
Oh, yeah.
That's a miniseries.
Yeah.
But like an event, they do it like maybe every other year. I think the last one was Dark or Death Metal, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's sometimes even if I'm not excited about it, it feels slightly more newsworthy considering they do them much more infrequently than the other large publisher that has crossover shared universe.
Unlike me, Dan H is in the comments saying, I'm in because I love Josh Williamson. I do not love Josh Williamson. I can't think of a single Josh Williamson project that I completed. That I read all the way through and enjoyed.
I think he is not like a guy that I always know. I'm like, oh, this, I'm going to like whatever he's written. But he's written a bunch of stuff that I like. The only one that I can think of is Infinite Frontier. But I feel like he's written other stuff that I was into.
Flash, he wrote the Flash for like 72 years.
Oh, when was it?
Well, yeah,
Rebirth.
Yeah. Jeremy Pierce is in the comments saying Josh's run on the Flash was really good. So
there you go.
I can't.
I'm a little bit disappointed that this is spinning out even of death metal. Like, I'm into an event, but death metal seemed to be like, all right, that is concluded, and now we're on to another thing. You know, it's not like Crisis on Infinite Earths led to the next crisis, you know. So we'll see what happens.
Was it misleading for me to say it spends? It may not spin out of death metal as those characters returning in some sort of way, but it seems to have been made possible by the continuity change that resulted from death metal.
Oh,
Whatever
like
Infinite
because
Frontier
Darkseid is now
yeah.
back in his
So it's not
original
it's
form.
not
Yeah.
it's not Death Metal 3, The Awakening. It's just this is what they were able to do with that reshuffling of the board. Because then I guess everything is a sequel of everything else if
if
it's just that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ongoing comic stories.
Yeah, and also like it's not tonally it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything like those books. Metal and Death Metal were their own fucking thing. Yeah.
Oh, Jeremy says that the Crisis Big Bad is Pariah from the original Crisis on Infinite Earths by Wolfman and Perez.
I thought that was cool. Pariah hasn't really been around since Crisis on Infinite Earths, except for maybe one or two other times.
He is Williamson is writing. I see. I always sample his books, always, and I never make it 3 to 4 issues past that. Like Birthright, such a great concept, and then I think it's still going on. I don't know. Like I lost the thread. Flash, I read the first 8 or 9 issues, and I skipped 1 month and never returned. Not because it was bad, just because it was still there.
Not good enough.
Yeah, well, I think I talked with you guys about this. Like his books, they always feel like if I described them, what happened, they sound really great, but the practice of reading them is just more like checking boxes or reading through an outline than it is just enjoying a story. It's just fine. But I really did like that first issue of Batman. So maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I am enjoying his run on Batman so far. We'll see if we make it 5 or 6 issues.
Yeah.
When does
Infinite
Dark Crisis
Frontier
come out? Summer.
So there's April is the death of the Justice League, which he's writing. It's like a big old one shot, issue 75. And then in May there are 2 one-shots, the Free Comic Book Day, and then a Road to Dark Crisis one-shot, and then it starts in earnest in June. And it's 6 issues.
It seems kind of like they are doing some of the 5G things with this, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just kind of coming back. Well, I mean, creators baked those stories. So they were always just going to show up again in some way, shape, or form. But now we have the legacy characters dealing with a crisis because they're going to kill off the Justice League prior to this. Yeah,
that's the part I'm excited about. I have no real grasp of what Dark Crisis is going to be as of yet. I am excited that they're going to kill off the Justice League and give us the what are they called? I can never remember the word. The Legacy Justice League. I love a legacy character. I love a legacy team. One of my favorite eras of Justice League is when it had Wally West and Kyle Rayner on the team. There's a new Firestorm. I enjoy the secondary legacy hand-me-down characters, So I like shit like this. But as far as the Crisis itself, I don't know.
I like those too. I really like the legacy characters of DC, but that was the only part about this that I was like, ugh, they're killing the Justice League.
I'm into this. Look at this. Jeremy's saying that's leading to Tim Fox, Yara Flor, Caldor, Joe Moline, and John Kent for the JLA. I want to read the shit out of that Justice League. I love all those.
As much as can we also keep or put Grayson on the team? Because none of those people are leaders yet, especially Jace, Tim, Jace, whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll have
sure
2
they'll
Batman.
step up. fill the role.
Yeah, but it would just be nice. I just want Grayson to be a leader because this book is brilliant.
Are we doing Nightwing this week?
No.
All right. Tough Titty Toenails. I'm going to talk about it. I read 10 issues of Nightwing in one night between like my kid going to sleep and then waking up in the morning. I read 10 issues. I blew right through Tom Taylor's Nightwing with Bruno Redondo. Holy cats, that is such a good book. It had been so long since I read the first 2 issues of that run that I actually just started from scratch. I went back to issue 1, and God, I love that book. It is so good. It is so fun. Even the tie-in Fear State issues, which are usually bunk, and I was tempted to just skip them. I was like, oh no, that was good. That's good shit. If anyone out there is not reading Nightwing and you like classic DC superheroing, get it. It's so good. Why are we not talking about that? Was that not this week?
I mean, I didn't feel like asking Brian to read 7 issues. He's not reading it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to do it. That's why I blew through all of the issues. But I do not regret a minute of it. Highly recommend. It's so good.
I know that he's not been reading it, so it was like,
yeah, I do want to. You guys talk about it
Brian,
so much, and I'm
it is up your alley. You are going to
Yeah.
really enjoy Nightwing.
Indeed.
It's
looks cool.
Nightwing and the Flash are like.
Oh, the Flash is in it? Oh,
the Flash is still good.
Yeah, the most recent stuff that I read was still good.
How far behind are you?
A little while, a little bit.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Like I've never read the Flash. Yeah.
Oh.
I know. I know that he's always like 10 issues behind unless it's prescribed.
Yeah, me too. And Dan H is in the. Well, we got a bunch of comments. Nightwing is so good, says Jeremy Pierce. Mars Comics says Nightwing has been awesome. Hal says, glad you finally read Nightwing. It's so good. Dan H, I like the Dick and John relationship. Yes. Because before Superman leaves to go do wherever, I don't know where I have no idea where Supes is right now.
He's on War World.
Kal-El. I don't know where he is. War World apparently. He stopped by and was like, hey Dick, can you hang out with my kid? Because he's going to be taking over for me and he might need a mentor. So now they're hanging out. It's fun.
Damn good book.
Oh, Jeremy says, thank you, Brian, for recommending me Nightwing because I like Tom Taylor. So good job, Brian.
You got it.
That's Jeremy Davis. He's a subscriber.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk about some books?
Yeah,
the comics that came out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we'd do that as part of the show for once. Let's see. I got to go back to my notes. Where's my notes? Batman the Night #2. Let me bring up my little file here. Boop boop a doop.
You're doing it live.
Loading. Please wait. Share. Share
Talk
screen.
me through it. Slower.
Window.
Slower.
Sexier. Here it comes. Hold on. Add to stream. Yeah, I did it. I win. Oh wait, did it go away? What happened? Okay.
No, it's there. I see it.
I fell asleep. What happened? Are we still here?
All right. Batman the Night #2. DC comic written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Carmine Giandomenico. It always takes me a little minute to figure out how to pronounce that. Bruce Wayne's journey towards becoming the Dark Knight has begun, and he has many hard lessons to learn before his education is complete. His adventure begins in the City of Lights, Paris, where he'll train with a world-renowned cat burglar and come into contact with a horrifying serial killer stalking the city's wealthy elite. Why? Just let the wealthy elite die. That's what I say. Eat the rich. Until I become one of them, and then rich people are dope as fuck.
Now you sound American.
Yep.
I could always be a millionaire.
Just what is it? Just a mildly embarrassed millionaire.
A temporarily embarrassed.
Yeah, temporarily embarrassed millionaire. So this is fun. We all sort of poo-pooed this when it was coming. It's like, oh great, more Batman origin story. I still feel that way. I'm not swayed, but for more Batman origin story, this is fun. This is quite enjoyable. I don't need it, but I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. I actually wondered too, like, why is this not Black Label? Because they seems to be so the freedom of Black Label is not necessarily just making it adult, but they also could play with their version of the timeline or of events. Like this already is kind of like off the rails a little bit in regards to who Henry Ducard is and his training and how that goes. Like he's doing it through college courses. So why? That's like, I guess, my only dig. They even have a like parental advisory on the cover because it's pretty violent. So it's like, why is this not just Black Label? But besides that, this is cool. I like as much as I didn't give a shit to read this again, I'm enjoying the shit out of this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I like they sort of plant the seeds where how he gets. I don't want to call it a cat burglar fetish. But he certainly has a type after meeting this woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this book will be collected not really around the time that the Batman comes out, but close enough that like when it hits streaming maybe or something, this will be a collected edition and it will be coming out while the Batman comes out. Which is probably more pertinent. So this is a great thing. And this is why I think it's not Black Label. It's 13 plus, but a lot of different people can buy it and a way larger market can buy it. And it kind of fits with what's just before, the take of the Batman and him being, this kind of Batman from what they've been saying about it.
Shoot. That is an excellent point, Brian. Did not even consider the marketing aspect of this. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Thank you. So this was my favorite book of the week, actually. And I felt basically the same as you guys, where I was like, oh, another Batman origin story at the start of last issue. And it helps that this is not a part of the Batman origin story that we've seen a lot of. They usually just allude to it. And I have for a long time thought that that's better, right? Like there's no series of events that we can see that would form someone into a Batman. It's like this kind of unknowable journey that he takes. But as long as they don't claim to be start to finish, then that's not an issue. And it's cool seeing him, get these particular skills. He's at a cool part. Like he is adult Bruce Wayne who knows what he wants to do and is very good at a lot of things, but not yet this like supreme skill. And so we get to see him doing cool stuff, but also getting shot and questioning what he's doing, which I thought was one of the cooler aspects of the book, where he's training with this cat burglar who's not so bad, but she is breaking the law. She's stealing things, and he's like, "Can I do this? To learn what I have to do? But even then, when I'm doing what I have to do, I'll be a criminal. Can I do that? Can I keep my oath to stop all crime to my parents by becoming a criminal?" And it's a contemplativeness of Batman, this kind of contemplativeness that we don't usually see.
Does he have? Does he have a picture of how he wants, what he wants to achieve? Like, I feel like it's still nebulous, right? Like,
yeah, right.
He just knows he wants to try and stop crime. He also knows that being a cop is not the way to go, especially because of who he is on the surface.
Well, he wants to be a vigilante, he says.
Yeah, but like that's what I mean. Like the concept is just malleable at this point. He doesn't have like a plan and a structure as to how to get there. It's just learn everything and then eventually,
he'll figure it out.
Which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think I remember in Dark Knight Strikes Again is the maybe only other time that I've seen Batman. Hal Jordan comes back and one of them says to the other, but it was Batman that said it originally. Like I think Hal says, "You were right. We were always criminals." doing what we did. And I mean, they're outside of the law. They do what they want. The only reason it's okay is because from our perspective, Batman always gets it right.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He can, yeah.
Who said this to him? Was it Hal?
I think Hal was
No.
quoting him back to himself. Like,
But he's
he
agreeing
was
with him that they are criminals, even though he works for a intergalactic
Wait, no,
police force.
I thought it was
On
Hal.
Earth.
I thought it was it was Ollie, not Hal.
Was it Ollie?
Oh, Ollie would make more sense.
Yeah,
Would.
that was.
I thought it was as Hal was
shit.
leaving Earth. He's like, "It's been a kick. I'd love to stick around a little while, but I got to go." And but this is Frank Miller, right? So he's got that kind of take on
that's true. Yeah.
things,
And to be fair, if Batman Strike Again, is it the sequel you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's Hal. I mean, I think it's Ollie, but you know what?
Right.
I haven't read it in fucking years. I don't even own it.
But
I'm sorry.
The way that it was done here was much more interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, but let's hold off and try and look it up. Does anybody know listening if it was Hal?
Grab your copies of Dark Knight Strikes Again. And
I just remember. I honestly, all I do is remember. I just remember Ollie
Green.
being a very large part of that book, especially the third act. Yeah. But I don't remember Hal in it. But whatever.
He was only in it briefly. Yeah.
Yeah, Hal Jordan was only in it for a couple panels.
Yeah, he had gone off to do some Green Lantern transcendent Green Lantern thing, and then he.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't even own it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I used to, and I think I sold.
You have it in the shop in the Dark Knight Absolute.
Yeah.
You're like, meh. Yeah.
The art in this book, unlike the book we're discussing, this book, the Dark Knight, the Knight, is great. Carmine
really
Domenico has been getting better for 10, 15 years, and it's just really, really good looking stuff.
Well, speaking of Joshua Williams, The Flash, that's the first place that I saw his art.
That was a good
regular
looking book
artist
too.
on that book. Yes, but it took 3 or 4 issues for me to get into his style, and maybe it was the costume design with all the speed lines that didn't make sense.
I don't like those.
But his anatomy it's very European. There's kind of almost a rubbery quality to it, and as soon as you just lean into it, and it's hearing music, let's say you're listening to jazz and you don't really like jazz, but something clicks and you're like, oh, I get it now. It took a couple issues for his style for me, and now I just love it, and I like it more on this book than I did on The Flash, honestly.
It definitely fits style very the type of story. European, for instance, he's in Europe at the moment, but I like the kind of thin-lined aspect of it. It's very classic comic book, but in a modern sort of way, The
first place I took note of this guy was he was drawing some Hellblazer. Perfect for Hellblazer. Yeah. This was 15 years ago.
I could see his scruffiness being applied to John Constantine. Yeah.
Yeah. But this book is way better than I had anticipated it being, so that's delightful.
Yeah.
This to Brian's point, this to put a cap on it, this actually will be a wonderful collection to give people that are what's where to start Batman, or what's a good just one Batman story. I'd give them this, hoping that it ends well, and Batman Universe, and it's just this character exists on both. Yeah, this character exists on both ends of the spectrum. Enjoy. Yeah.
Agreed. Let's move on to G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Saturday Morning Adventures from IDW, and by Eric Burnham and Dan Schoening. G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained special mission force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world. Well, you know the story. But now Cobra might have found their most versatile weapon yet. Can even G.I. Joe stop the Aladdin initiative? Find out in this special Saturday morning send-up based on the classic 1980s cartoon. So G.I. Joe comic books mixed with some Spider-Man were the first comic books that got me into collecting comic books. Got me into the whole gig. And there was a heyday back in the 80s by Larry Hama, and I'm not sure that it ever really made it back to that heyday of comic bookdom. I know there's been some really bright spots here and there. There was like there was a really good Cobra miniseries about 10 years ago. There's a really good G.I. Joe run like 2 years ago, I think I'll say.
We reviewed an issue for the show of
yeah.
an issue that we all liked. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, and then about 10 years ago, the start of the IDW stuff was really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw that in the group chat, you guys were talking about how this was really rough. And it absolutely is. However, I'm going to steal a Nolism, and that is what is it? It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It's a feature, not a bug, yeah.
Yeah. This not, I went into it going, fuck, I'll just read it. And because I love the cartoon so much, listen to Transformers growing up, and I would just watch it anytime it was on. And I had the VHS collections. It was never like the whole series, but it was like a couple of episodes. And I would watch those again and again. And the movie, the great 80s movie animated film was so good.
Mm-hmm.
As I was reading this, I could hear all of the voices as they were in the cartoon. The artist, Schoening, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Schoening?
I would think Schoening.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like he was tracing the animated series off of his television. It is spot on, perfect. The way that I can't believe it. He really nailed it. And it's so dumb. It's just, and the fact that Roadblock is still in there rhyming for no reason. Boy, I just love this.
I didn't even
Somebody rhymes? Who rhymes?
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. So my two things. I same with Transformers. I have no real fond memories of the show. Just the movies that I watched ad nauseum, but I never watched the episodes. But I love the toys. So it being a pastiche explicitly of the episodic television show, it was just like, I get that this is a reference, but I don't get this reference. But tonally in this comic, as soon as Cobra Commander broke the vase and there was a lamp inside, I'm like, oh, fuck you, cartoon. Yeah. It's a goddamn like it's actually a genie in a bottle. Fuck this. Let's do it.
This was the one part where I was like, did the show ever do stuff like this? Did the show have things like mystical, like genies and lamps? Was that a thing that actually happened in the cartoon? I remembered it being more grounded than this. Like obviously like super technology, like weather controlling machines and shit like that. But I don't remember there being things like an actual
there was
mythical.
There was like body horror style things, like what a dude would turn into an actual monster or snake, like super science shit, like you said, but actual like
was once
supernatural.
I was once a man.
I gotta watch that now.
It's so good.
But yeah, this was who the demographic for this comic book.
It's me.
It's so razor thin. I am shocked that it got made and that it got made well.
Yeah.
Right.
It's nice. It's nice that you think I'm razor thin. That's nice. I have a lot of body issues, so that's nice for you to say.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, I mean you're the only member of the demographic.
Right. I am the demographic. It's me, and I'm razor thin. Oh, and so Roadblock. If you look here, if you can fly, get your butts in the sky. Like he would always, for some reason, all of his one-liners would be in rhyme.
And these people are so fucking stupid. The only wish they could think of is a kaiju-sized bat. Fuck you. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
I had a big problem with that. He's like, I want ultimate power. I'm sorry, I can't give you ultimate power. All right, a large robot. Like this is, and then his second wish. Oh, no, I guess they don't do the second wish, but he's seriously contemplating additional large robots. Like,
yeah. That to me that was
something-
like funny. To me that was like
Yeah.
purposely humorous, where the genie shows up and he's like, "Oh, it didn't work. Don't you wish you had more of that?" He's like,
Sure.
"No, wait a minute. I'm not gonna wish for that."
I don't have high hopes for his second two wishes, though. You know, like,
Yeah, right.
think a little bit about what's between a giant robot and ultimate power. Like, they must have movies in this universe. Be like, give me these 7 powers myself. I would like to be invulnerable. You know, that sort of thing. So I never watched G.I. Joe. And as I say almost every time G.I. Joe comes up, I never watched it. They don't have any powers. They're army guys. They use guns. There was like nothing about that. I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. And so I didn't really have any association with this comic other than that. And yeah, I read it. I was annoyed at Cobra Commander for being a moron. And then also
He's
they're
always been
like,
stupid.
It's
that
a
makes
feature,
sense.
not a bug. Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. I wonder if the Saturday Morning Adventures banner they're hoping to apply to other, you know, like a Transformers, a Thundercats, it's short issue, you know, that kind of thing. But also the robot is taken out. The one guy's just like, oh, you got to hit it in the right place. I know exactly where that is. It's the back of the knee. He takes it out. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's just an enlarged version of what they've already fought before, so they know where the
Yes.
weak points are.
That's the weak point. Like I mean,
I don't know, man. You know what?
Yeah.
Exactly. I will not recommend this book unless you're JD, but I will remind
You already read it.
everyone. Yeah, well, I guess I won't recommend this book. I will recommend everyone give the previous series a shot. It's only 12 issues long. It's called G.I. Joe World on Fire, and it was awesome. Just super awesome. It's all it's essentially if Cobra had already won, and these are all like, you know, insurgents trying to wage a
that was the
more,
one that we
a more modern war. Yeah,
we reviewed one of those, right? That was
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. First
Yeah, I
issue.
like that.
it was such
Yeah.
a good, tight series, and it was just really, really good. It wasn't this.
Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up at the end of the
The
episode.
thing at the end, yes.
There are the PSAs aimed at children. And this actually has a PSA at the end of this episode where this kid is reading the G.I. Joe comic that we have in our hands. And he goes, "What? This isn't what wanted to happen. The people who made this are stupid. And I'm going to tell everyone how stupid they are." And then Mainframe, I think, is the guy, turns off his computer and is like, "Oh." And he kind of gives him the spiel about like, hey, maybe take a breath before being a dipshit on the internet. So
Don't be a troll.
I like
don't
that
be a
one.
troll, you
Yeah.
little dick.
This is
So
my
I really
favorite
appreciated
part.
that.
This
Yeah.
is my favorite part of the
Me
whole
too.
book. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about it, I can't imagine there's many people out there who don't know about it. But again, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15, somebody had gone through and edited and redubbed the voices on those old G.I. Joe PSAs. And they are hilarious. You know, pork chop sandwiches. Anybody who knows what pork chop sandwiches is, that's what this comes from.
That was
anyway.
evidently that was not just anybody. It was the guy who later did all of the early Adult Swim stuff, like C Lab 2021 and
no kidding.
those redubbings. So I have heard.
Oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah, right. I have never seen them, but I
they
think I
are.
have to.
I'm not sure if they're still hilarious, but I
Right.
remember losing my shit when I first came across them on the internet way back, and I like sent them to all my friends, and we would quote them all the time. Let's see. Hal says they have the original episodes on YouTube. The stormtroopers from Star Wars were better shots. LOL. It's true. Dang near 20 years ago, says Kevin. What was 20 years ago? Not the redubs, right?
I think it
Were the
probably
redubs
was
20?
since Adult
Oh,
Swim came
no.
out shortly after that.
Yeah, a long time ago, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Kevin, why would you do that to me? Why would you throw
'Cause you need to
reality in my
remember.
face?
You need to know how
Oh.
old.
How old I am? Yeah, thanks.
Isn't your birthday like next week?
It is. It's on the 27th.
Yay.
Yes.
Hey.
Iron Fist #1 from Marvel Comics by Alyssa Wong writer of Dr. Aphra from Star Wars. And I don't know how to say this last name. Michael YG. Anyone have any idea how to pronounce YG as a last name?
They're both caps too, so it might be an acronym or a shortening. It's not
okay.
YG, it's capital Y, capital G. That's how he's credited.
Okay. Well, we'll just call him Mikey. I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
Who
is the new Iron Fist? After giving up his power to save the world, Danny Rand believes he's seen the last of the Iron Fist. But when demons begin to attack cities around the world, a mysterious newcomer in a familiar mask appears, hands blazing with the chi of Shu Lao, the Undying.
Shallow.
Who watched? Say it again.
Shallow.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
The Chi of Shallow, the Undying. Who is this new Iron Fist, and does his power really come from the Dragon of Kunlun, or from something far more sinister? Well, the answer is the second thing.
Could
Is
be
it?
both.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess we'll find out.
Oh, so you didn't read it? Because they kind of say it.
I did read it, and I thought it was delightful. I really wish that Jimmy Chung had done the interior artwork as well. It is the interior artwork is fine.
That's not. I contend that's almost not fair. We talked about this in the store. Every time Jimmy Chung does a cover, yes, I wish he did the interior. That's that's just like starting at $1 million and you actually are only given $100,000. Like it's still $100,000. It's not bad.
This doesn't feel like top tier Marvel talent. This feels like an indie superhero book more than a Marvel Iron Fist comic book.
Is Iron Fist a top tier book?
I'm sorry. I guess I mean Marvel being one of the top two.
Gotcha. Like all their books should be at a certain level.
I can see I can see what you mean, like in the physicality, but I really liked this artist's facial acting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like especially in the conversations towards the end, like all of the characters looked different and that you could like just see expressions very well. But yeah, in regards to the action and just the physicality, it is a little rubbery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that,
like this, I like this a lot.
This page looks good, except for that 1, 2, 3, the fourth panel. That face on that fourth panel is a little dopey. I love the costume. The way the costume looks here on this bottom panel looks cool as hell, and I love that the dragon has been slightly askew. It's like in a different wing shape than it usually is.
Oh yeah.
Like it's in a different part of flight. It's kind of cool. Cool ass outfit. And so this character was part of about 2 years ago. I guess they introduced a bunch of new characters in like Swordmaster and Airy, or I don't remember their names.
It's Arrow, I think AERO, Swordmaster. It was the Agents of Atlas. It was
That's what it was.
Yeah, it was like a new Agents of Atlas. They had a miniseries during King in Black, but I think it was also Empire.
They showed up in the Black Knight book that we read.
Yeah, but that was post their introduction. So like that was the King in Black one, but I think they had their first miniseries during Empire time era. But yeah, this is former Swordmaster. Yeah.
This is brutal. I'm not 100% sure how his powers work, but he wound up, his sword was shattered. He fell off a cliff. The Sholau dragon sort of swirled around him. He was unconscious. He woke up and he had shards of glass in his forearms, which looks
sword.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually read the description of this twice because as cool of a origin as I think it is, it's it's delivered very clunkily. As like I needed a flow chart to get to what point is what. So like the bad thing blew up his impenetrable or unbreakable sword that fused itself to him painfully. And that is what drew the, at the time, dormant Shallow energy to him. So he has the power of the Iron Fist, but he is not technically the rightful Iron Fist because it's actually just instinctually protecting him from whatever else is going on with his hands. So it's almost competing energies within him.
Okay, that's why I was saying I wasn't 100% sure how his power works.
Yeah, so he didn't do the rightful Kunlun thing where he goes and actually captures the heart of the dragon and yada yada. The dragon itself was just awoken by whatever happened to him and was drawn to him.
Interesting.
Which I think is cool. Like they're not
just
retelling the same origin or usurping the same mythology. They're just kind of mixing things, and I think that's pretty fun.
And I think it's cool that they're using a character that pre-exists.
Yeah.
That maybe wasn't getting the spotlight. So they were like, oh, we're not really doing anything with him. It didn't really take off, but we can use him here. I think that's pretty cool. What'd you think, Brian?
And
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I didn't have high expectations. I would say it was about the middle of my expectation out of the 6 books that we read this week. I was like, all right, it's Marvel, classic Marvel, but I've never really been that into Iron Fist, but let's see what's going on. Yeah. And I would say it slightly exceeded those expectations. Yeah, he was, the new Iron Fist was more interesting. I was, admittedly, at the beginning, I was like, ugh, it's a different Iron Fist. But yeah, he was cool. He was interesting. And I'm curious to see what the deal is with this sword. I wonder, like, will he reforge the sword and still be the sword master, or switch entirely to Iron Fist, or he'll be both things, or who knows?
It's intriguing enough, though, right? And I love I also genuinely enjoy the fact that Danny Rand is still a part of the picture.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, he's still got a lot to say and do about the Kunlun stuff, and he's not without his resources. Even he knows a lot of martial arts and that kind of thing.
Remind me, you guys didn't finish the miniseries that preceded this, right? Like how Danny Rand essentially gave up the dragon to save the world, et cetera, et cetera.
That was the one with the cool art style that we read the first issue or two of.
Yeah, it was David Wachter. It was Larry Hama and David Wachter. Really, really good. It's in the shop.
Nice.
Pick it up. The shop.
Yeah, come by it.
Journey Instructors Hero Complex at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA.
I noticed the opposite has happened with Shang-Chi. In the comics, I believe he has gotten 10 rings that are like a magical thing.
They've updated him to match the movie?
Yeah.
I haven't read
which is much cooler, in my opinion. I'm glad they did it in the movie, and I'm happy that they're doing it in the comic. But I didn't read it. I just read, I call it like a headline or something. This final page of this is interesting. There's this demon inhabiting the dad of this family.
Oh, was the dad the demon all along? I don't know. It's cool though, and I actually like the design of that nasty looking thing. This was like a solid B, like good enough to give it a second and third issue. And the fact that when I see 1 of 5 or that it's a miniseries, I'm much more inclined to be more patient with it. Than if it's going to be like, here's an ongoing and it takes like 3 issues to just really find its footing. It ticks me off. So I'm excited about this series.
Oh, good.
Now this is something interesting. There is a synopsis in the back, which I didn't realize, of who what's his name? Lin Li.
Swordmaster?
The Swordmaster, wielder of the mighty sword of Fushi until it shattered. There's like a kind of a background on where he was coming from early in the story. Which is an odd choice to put it at the back.
Well, if they put it in the front, then you know.
Right, they don't want to give away who he was. But I didn't feel like it was much of a big reveal either.
It was like a half and half. Like, so it's like they were not talking about who it was. And then it was just like, oh yeah, it's this guy.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I noticed Danny Rand still has his costume and I guess tattoo He's not going to get rid of the
Yeah.
tattoo just because he doesn't.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. Because when he gave up the power, the tattoo goes to.
Oh, that was part of the power?
Uh-oh.
Or it's just a mark of the power. Because at one point, Okoye has the Iron Fist, and she gets a cool like tat on her head.
Oh, does she
Maybe he misses it, so he just uses Sharpie.
She doesn't still have it. That's what's making me think. Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
Jay, why would he? Why he would just go get a tattoo? You think every day he Sharpies it in?
Yeah.
It's a decal. It takes like 2 days.
All right, what's up? Oh, next up is the promo block. Cue Brian.
Oh, hey, JD, I heard about this thing called Patreon.com. And from what I have gathered, you can give money if you have money and are so inclined to things that you like. And if you like this show, what I'm thinking is people could go to patreon.com/Johnny Destructo and donate some of that money. And if they don't have money, why not just like and subscribe and tell people about it on the street or
wrong button.
Doesn't have to be the street. Wherever it's appropriate to mention it. Just do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I've heard and thought about what I've heard. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that was, you're right on point. That's
cool.
Amazing.
That's cool.
I won't repeat all the things you just said because you did a bang up job. You can also leave us nice reviews on iTunes. Leave us rating on iTunes. That would help us out as well.
That's even more helpful than a stars rating, right, JD? If somebody just writes a little something.
That's true. Yeah.
Just a little something.
Yeah, just write the words "a little something."
A little something.
Give us a 5-star review.
That would be pretty cool.
I was waiting for that, but I wasn't sure which one of you was going to take the bait.
Oh, it could have been either one. Let's see how many a little somethings we can.
We can procure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Lion and the. Wait, we're not doing that one. Oh, we are doing that one.
We're doing
the Lion and the Eagle
number
1 from Aftershock Comics, written by Garth Ennis with art by P.J. Holden, 1944. Imperial men still command most of Asia. Determined to regain their hold on Burma, the British send a special forces unit, the Chindits, deep behind Japanese lines. Their mission is to attack the enemy wherever they find him. What awaits them is a nightmare equal to anything the Second World War can deliver. Colonel Keith Crosby and Dr. Alistair Whitmore have old scores to settle, being veterans of the long retreat through Burma 2 years before. But neither the jungle or the foe have gotten any less savage, and when the shooting starts and the Japanese descend on the smaller British force in their midst, every man will be tested to his limit. So it's another war comic from Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis is known for two things: gross out edgelord humor and serious as hell war stories.
And the Punisher, which is right in the middle of both of them.
It does both of those. Yeah, there are a version of the Punisher for each of those.
Yeah.
But he's really solid. I've read a lot of his war stories over the years, and usually does a bang up job. I did not get a chance to read this all the way through. What I can say is that Tim Bradstreet did the cover, and Tim Bradstreet traces photographs.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can find a celebrity. And right here we have Devon Sawa from Final Destination and recently the Chucky TV show. That's him right in the middle there. I don't know who these other actors or models are, but he clearly had people model for him, and then he traces the
Did
photographs.
he have people model for him, or did he just take references?
So he does both. Sometimes he has models actually come in and they dress up in full costume and he takes photographs and then he draws over those photographs. Or sometimes he composites and then draws over those.
Anyway,
I remember years ago. No, he usually he's done interiors back in the early aughts.
Oh yeah.
But mostly he just does these covers. And I do remember he had done a cover for some Vampire the Masquerade role-playing book, and he literally had traced over Dave Grohl So every time I would walk past that cover, I was like, "Oh, there's Dave Grohl." But it's always kind of fun to play spot the celebrity in his drawings.
I
What did you think? No.
I enjoy Garth Ennis war stories. But I'm hard pressed to often recommend them to people because they are I think the word you had used a little like in the group thread, Brian, is plotting. They're very setting. They're very mise en scene. Like he spends forever often kind of like just getting in the vernacular and the setting and the details, and he doesn't explain anything to you. Like it's difficult in issues usually. I think I've only ever read one or two of them as miniseries and issues, and then just kind of switch to trade or hardcover because it's not something that I could like revisit constantly every month. But they always feel a little like homework that I enjoyed doing by the time it was over. Does that make sense? Like these aren't fun reads, but they always feel like fulfilling reads. So it just brings me back to I'm not exactly like I love these books that they're still that I don't know who's buying these and who's reading these, but the fact that they're still allowing Garth Ennis to just like carte blanche do whatever kind of war story he wants from whatever perspective he wants is wild. Like he's done them from the perspective of soldiers in the Crusades, from the perspective of Nazi air fighters. Like he's done every single style of war story and no one has batted an eye. And it's just incredibly fascinating. And if anything, even whether I liked this issue or not, like I just love the fact that he's still making these and I want him to just do it in perpetuity.
Has he done any like Bronze Age stuff, like ancient warfare stuff?
Yeah, there was one Creasy, I think it was called.
Oh, I think I remember seeing that coming out.
We'll look it up afterwards, or if anybody in the chat knows. But yes, he's done some like Middle Ages stuff, and yeah, it's always fascinating, even when it's like not an enjoyable read. It's just always just like fuck, I didn't know that, because he is meticulous with details and accuracy. So I never really question like when they will do something seemingly like what silly or why would they tie their shoes like that. I never really question it because it's like I know that Garth Ennis has actually looked up exactly how they would wear their uniform, like shit like that.
Yeah,
it's very cool stuff.
I do find it a little difficult to get into in the first part of the stories because I'm trying to figure out the vernacular and exactly the setting and what exactly is happening. And but yeah, like you said, once you're done, you're like, that was a good. Brian.
Yeah, so I am mostly familiar with Garth Ennis's other style of story that is the like over the top, gross out, action, violence kind of stuff. And so I was like, oh, great, a Garth Ennis story about war. But I read it anyway. And before we get into that, Mars Comics says of the cover, I believe, and the way that he does his covers, is that cheating? It feels like it's cheating, but it is beautiful. My feeling about that is like it does feel like cheating, right? It feels like he is doing something, he's getting away with something, but he's upfront about it. He says that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. It's a creation of art. So there you go. That's all right. But that's what it is, And if you want to look a little askance that he doesn't change the faces a little bit, then that's a prerogative as well.
As an artist myself,
yeah,
growing up and seeing, I remember seeing his first stuff and being like, "You're allowed to just do that? You can
do anything.
You can just trace a photograph and then that'll be the cover of a comic book. You can just do that's allowed." But I've come a long way in that, and I try not to judge other people's artistic integrity unless they're straight up stealing something, or like Rob Liefeld would literally just trace someone else's artwork. I think taking a photograph and tracing that photograph is one thing, and that's fine because you're still in possession of all those things as part of your process. If you're like Rob Liefeld and you take a drawing of the Shield helicarrier and then you just trace that panel again, that an artist has already drawn,
Yeah.
maybe not so much.
I mean, he also doesn't say that he does that, and that's a big part of it too.
Right.
Like the guy that does, I would imagine you'll remember his name, the very famous pop art guy that just stole and slightly changed a bunch
Andy
of the
Warhol?
scenes. No, but same era. Lichtenstein.
Lichtenstein, yes.
Who it's like everyone celebrated him and didn't pay any attention at all to the art that he lifted, and presenting in a museum is, yes, that's a very cool artistic thing, but no credit was given to the person who did essentially the original panel.
So what for anyone who doesn't know who Roy Lichtenstein is, what he did was he would take a panel of, let's say, a romance comic, one panel that was drawn by another artist, a romance comic book artist, and he would enlarge the panel, recreate it much bigger, pretty accurately, and then he's the guy who would get rich off of it, and he wouldn't give any credit to the person whose artwork that he just stole. Like, there's always like a woman on a telephone crying.
Yeah.
There's a woman who's about to be swept under by waves, and there's always like a thought bubble happening. Those are Roy Lichtenstein prints. Go ahead, Brian.
And to be charitable, also, what he was doing was saying this much more transient kind of creation, this different kind of art, can also be real art. And he was right about that. That does not excuse not also saying, I copied this mostly from this other guy. And like, he's adding something to it, but not enough to claim that he is the artist.
I am not, in regards to comics, I'm not not really I don't really care as much for a cover. Like, there's cosplayers on covers all the time. It's not really a big deal, but I do not care for it in comics. Like in interiors, like if I'm ripped out of a comic thinking like, oh, that's fucking Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
Because it's explicitly Tommy Lee Jones. I absolutely hate that. Deodato does it all the time, and I can't stand it. He recently had a AWA comic come out, I think like last month, and I was gonna talk like I put it up for us to like review it, The Fourth Man, and then I read it and I screenshot every single actor that was in the fucking book to you guys, and I was like, we can't talk about this because it was like 7 different actors, some of them dead, that were just in the book, and I was like, this is all incredibly distracting, just incredibly distracting.
There's Greg Land, where like every woman is, what is the name of that model that he uses?
He used a porn star for a while, right?
Yeah, but there was a Claudia Schiffer. He uses Claudia Schiffer quite a bit. And he'll just trace Claudia Schiffer. Anyway, this book, the interior artist doesn't do any of that. The interior artist for Lion and the Eagle is really nice. It's got a little bit of Steve Dillon, but like a little bit more expressive, a little bit more cartoony. It looks like a lot of Garth Ennis, a lot of what like artists that Garth Ennis usually works with. This fits that mold. It's very well done, very nice looking book. I wish I had time to finish reading all of it.
The conversations that presumably the main character has are interesting too. The ones that he has with his best friend, and the ones that he has with the Chinese army person. I don't know what his role there is.
Also, we don't know what the story is about yet. Like, this whole first issue has been a series of conversations, not linearly told, just to kind of like give you an idea of their day to day. Like, there's no central, I guess maybe transporting the donkeys right now is the central plot thread, because that's real time right now. Like, that's present day. But yeah, it's very much it's a little like Verite style. There's no real plot yet. It's just learning these people, which
and
I find
they're like
interesting.
They talked a little bit about how they're sort of vulnerable, and they would be vulnerable if the positions were reversed between them and the Japanese army, but they're not, because this other thing is in play. So maybe that other thing won't be in play for that long, or who knows. Lion and Eagle is a reference to their unit is the Chindit, I believe, which is itself a mispronunciation of the name of this mythological creature, which is sometimes the lion and the eagle. But the guy brings up that it's not always that. Sometimes it's half other things other than lion or eagle, which could be an interesting metaphor depending on what he does with it over the course of the story. I wouldn't say that I was that, I got through it, but it was well told. It was a well done version of the thing that he was going for, I think.
Yeah, this was good.
All right. What is up next? It's Rain, number 2 from Image Comics by Joe Hill and David M. Boer, with art by Zoe Thorogood. As tragedy strikes around her, Honeysuckle does the only thing she knows to do. She devises a plan to walk to Denver to make sure her loved ones are okay. Though the deadly rain could fall at any moment, she quickly learns there are things just as dangerous as the corrupted weather: other people. So this is basically a comic book adaptation of a short story by Joe Hill, where in Boulder, Colorado, one day in the middle of the day, the sky opens up and a storm hits the town. Except instead of rain, it is shards of crystal.
Fulgurite.
I'm not 100% sure. What is that?
In the story, fulgurite is what happens when a lightning bolt or electricity runs through like sand or something like that, and it creates this little, like kind of a hollow tube. So the lightning runs through that, and around with a path of the lightning forms this silicate.
Yeah, they gave it squishy science, which I appreciated.
No, that's real. That's a real thing.
No. Yes, but it happening in this way in the middle of clouds and turning it rain. That's squishy science.
Yeah.
Basically, all of these shards fall from the sky and murder anyone who is indoors, with millions of little pokes. Really, really good short story. I really like the first issue. What did you think, Brian?
I thought once the idea was introduced in the first issue, which I didn't really get too into anyway, the art continues to be great. This one was also somewhat boring. There was a lot of talk about what she was about to do, and the idea had already been mentioned, so that's not coming up. You don't get that excitement of figuring out what happened. It almost rivals Cobra Commander levels of stupidity, the plan that she has to walk to Denver in a time where it could rain down needles at any time, right? Now, apparently there is some warning that this is about to happen, but I don't know how much. One can hardly imagine that the entirety of the road from wherever she is to Denver has a place with a roof that she can duck into at a moment's notice. And it's to find this man that she cares about a lot, the father of her deceased girlfriend. And that's certainly a noble thing to do, but she tried to call him. He doesn't usually answer the phone. So she decides to walk to Denver. Running into the cult people, that's interesting. Maybe something will happen with that. The guy predicted it. I will only find out if we read more for the show.
Fair enough. No.
Yeah.
I will. So I enjoyed this more than Brian did. But I will articulate something that he talked about a little bit. The idea of the way that this book is paced. It lacks a kind of reactive or proactive quality. It's more contemplative when it doesn't feel like it should be, almost like a prose book. There is a lot of discussion about a lot of intention, including internal dialogue. And I feel like you could eliminate maybe 40% of that and make it a more active paced book right?
Right.
And I think that's probably like the biggest hiccup because I love the characters. The scenario is just fucking harrowing and effective. I like the conflict, even though it's kind of desperate and stupid for her to travel to just go see if maybe Zoe's dad is alive. Zoe, right? No.
Yeah.
What's
So
her
I don't
girlfriend's
remember.
name? To see if her dad's still alive because he's not picking up his phone. That does feel a little ill-advised within
Yeah.
the first 24 hours.
Right.
I-
Yeah. Like it rains a few minutes after she leaves.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
don't. And I would have forgiven it if it felt more impulsive.
Hmm.
But because we had almost 10 pages
Yeah.
of explaining and thought and internal dialogue about the decision, it doesn't feel impulsive. It just feels stupid. So I'm just personally having a little trouble with like the pacing of or the way the book's kind of laid out. Like if it's an adaptation of a short story, make it a little bit more
Sure.
propulsive,
Yeah.
speedy, quick, in real time, not I'm slowly experiencing.
What you mentioned, Noel, is interesting that it's a very contemplative feel. And I think that, and the art has an ethereal kind of contemplative quality, right?
It does.
Those are the things that I am drawn to about this book. I want it to be about something else. Like I want this style of both art and like narrative. I'm just like, and I mentioned this in the first one too. Like I kind of wanted to just be a totally different story, but I like the way that they are delivering.
Yeah.
You know,
Imagine, and this is really, really bad commentary when you like, I would do it this way.
Yeah.
But imagine if the whole opening scene I thought was wild and really good. Counting the needles that she's pulling out of her dead girlfriend. That is such a great scene to set up. Imagine if we completely cut out the whole next scene and just go straight into just explaining really quickly while she's on the road that I couldn't get a hold of and I needed to do this and blah, blah, blah. Like just to move the story forward as opposed to keep sliding feet, like just step.
Yeah.
I that's what I hope for it.
The thing that bothers me a little bit is looking at this. So shards have sprung out of the sky, and she leaves with a button-down shirt,
yes,
a tank top, off of her shoulders. Oh, it's a flannel. She's got a flannel, a tank top, and a backpack. Nowhere do I see any sort of padding, any sort of protection in case the sky does open up.
Yeah, I'd grab a football helmet, some fucking shit, like even just to hang out with and like flack it on really quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
So yeah, I mean,
This
maybe there was nowhere for her to get.
Excuse me.
Maybe not, but she could at least be talking about it.
Yeah. I wish I could get some pads. I wish I could get some covering, something.
Yeah.
Even
This kid
if she
is
was
very
just
well
walking around
realized.
with like, what's that?
Speaking of things to cover, this kid is very well realized. Like the moment with the umbrella, and then you see him again at the end. Along those lines.
Why wouldn't you? Like even taking a frying pan,
right?
Yeah,
just to do this shit. If it's
something.
It's
tie some duct tape some stuff to you.
Yeah.
It just feels they're it feels like they're. No, that's not even it. Like I was going to say, it feels like they're focusing on the wrong thing. I think that they are focusing on the right thing, which is the character's experience and struggles. But they're not. The lack of attention to really anything else causes nothing but me to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a shame.
It's a shame too that the thing on the cover that goes through the needle, right? The whatever they call it. Looks really cool, right? But you don't see it in the book. Like that's not a part of the imagery of the book. You see little tiny versions of it.
That's what we call a metaphor, Brian.
No, I know, but it's a really. I'd like to see that more of that in this art.
Do these covers? It's every cover has that kind of going through the character that it's focused on. Do these covers connect? Because that would be cool.
Oh, they might. Yeah. But I didn't mean so much going through the cover. Just the needle itself is, you know, it looks cool, and that kind of like mystical but realistic thing isn't really presented, unfortunately, because the object itself is too small to show that detail most of the time. And there's no other reason to have something that looks like that in the story so far.
Yeah. It's cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bummer.
Who does this? Do they do anything else? Who does the art on this?
Zoe Thorogood.
Zoe
I don't know.
Thorogood. Yeah, I don't know either.
Right.
Well, bummer. Let's see. Last book of the week, Thor number 22 from Marvel Comics by Donny Cates and Nick Klein. To stop the deadly path of Mjolnir-wielding god of hammers, all of the Marvel Universe must come together and be basically useless. The final battle is here. But will Thor's allies survive the hammer's blows? Probably. Thor turns into an expected source to help ensure victory. Is it unexpected?
And
Is his dad unexpected?
I thought it was pretty... unexpected.
Wait,
I thought you said expected.
Oh, yeah. No, unexpected.
Source.
There it is.
Have you guys ever heard the thing where there's like a villain, when they fight a team like the Avengers, they can take on the whole team, but later on or whatever, they'll turn good and join the team, and then they're basically at the same power level. You know, that kind of like trope within comics, or just because the villain's got to be somebody that the whole team can take on, so they're not as powerful when they're on the team. I feel like this is a very similar thing, that when another group of heroes sometimes is in the main hero's book, they will all get taken out very easily. And then it's got to be the titular hero that really has a lot of stuff to do when there are other main characters like this, like Spider-Man and Iron Man and that kind of thing.
I think
I felt similarly.
I don't disagree with either of you guys, but I think that that's just a basic problem with Thor's book always. He is God level. Sure. So in order to articulate that, usually it's taking another power set that you're familiar with and nerfing it in order to illustrate how strong X, Y, and Z is instead of, you know, like this Thor's book always has that kind of problem or benefit, if you care, of escalation. And this issue is absolutely an instance of that, because you essentially have like Dragon Ball Z style, a new fucking form of Thor at the end of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's I mean, Donny Cates is doing the same damn thing he does everywhere else. He just keeps escalating it and making it bigger and bigger. But what I do appreciate about it is that, I mean, I still fall for the character beats. So I still fall for the stuff with Odin. I still fall for, you know, his mom making just having one knowing look like there's only way you could have powered up shit. Like, I fall for those little pieces, and that's actually what makes this work for me. Also, too, you had showed it the splash page before where it's just like fractured and all the characters. If you can go back to that. Visual medium.
What are you looking for? This.
That on the bottom right. Throg and
Lockjaw.
And Lockjaw.
Yeah.
That and Lockheed behind them. That right there is the whole reason this book is an A+. Just right there. Just take. I want that. I want that panel on my wall. that could exist in the overly dramatic, fun bullshit of this just makes me happy.
Yeah. To go back to what Brian said, I felt that. So basically, Thor, because his mother is not Freya, it's Gaia. And I guess Freya just sort of raised him. Gaia is his actual birth mother. And he's creating a whirlwind tornado type of an energy tornado is what it's called. And Mr. Fantastic, the smartest man, some would say, in the Marvel universe, who is able to solve almost any problem, says, I can say this, it's impenetrable. There is no force on Earth that could break through a field this dense. Whereas if this was happening in a Fantastic Four book,
Yeah.
2 panels later, he would have broken through. You know what I mean?
Oh, I figured out a thing to
It's-
break
it's-
through a field this dense.
Oh, thank God! I just built this last week. It was sitting in my lab. So I literally like rolled my eyes at that. That's the sort of thing. It's a very specific sort of thing where it's a little related to what Ryan's saying, but they just other heroes show up in a book and all of a sudden they're dumb as shit because they need to be. Just don't have Mr. Fantastic there, or
Right.
don't have him say that. All you like, oh, I'll have to work on how to get through this.
This would take
Don't
me
say
weeks.
that it's impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I could figure this out, but I'm going to need time. Something like that.
Yeah.
Just a slight tweak to the scene, and I wouldn't have rolled my eyes and been like, "Oh, come on." Other than that, it's a pretty fine issue. I don't think this issue really added much until the very, very end. I don't think I really like. It was good, but I didn't get out of that being like, "Oh yeah, that was the best issue of Thor I've read in a while." It was a good continuation of the last couple of issues, which are all very good.
Super Saiyan Thor.
Yeah, where he's golden
did
now.
Donny Cates, did he write the King in Black stuff?
Yeah.
So that's actually the last place I think that the last one that I remember where we were like, oh, come on. When Steve Rogers is like, we've never faced anything even remotely like this. It's like you face things like this all the time. Every day.
Like,
right?
Literally
Right.
Every Wednesday.
One season ago when it was Katati and not
right.
Venom symbiotes.
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I think it was when Sentry showed up and he had him take out the Sentry very, very easily.
I hear what you guys are saying, and I'm only mildly forgiving of it because I know it's kind of my problem because I read so much. But if I was only reading like the event or the book, or I was 12 and not absorbing all of it, then I'd be like, holy shit, it's so big that even Fantastic doesn't know. Like, I give it a bit of a pass, but you're absolutely right. Like, they always nerf nerf guest characters. Always. It's it's a fucking rule.
It is. Yeah. I enjoyed this. I liked it better than the last issue. This is cool at the end because Odin is typically, at least like a long time ago, was typically in all golden kind of metal band armor like this, like bands of metal, not like a metal band, but so I thought that was a cool combining of the Odin force,
the looks.
Yeah. It's interesting that they call her Gaia because her name would be Earth or Yorda or something like that, which is where we get the word Earth. But I guess if you call her Earth, it's not as it doesn't sound as good,
I have the text right there. History of the Marvel Universe.
They
refer to her as Gaia from the very beginning. So, look, we're not dealing.
Just translate that one.
We're not dealing with the real world. We're dealing with the Marvel Universe.
No, I just find it interesting that because you would think they would call it Gaia, like the Greeks in the Marvel Universe would call it Gaia, and then so that tradition kind of came into modern America, but that the Norse people would still, I assume, in the Marvel Universe would call her Earth or whatever, which meant this was just another word for Midgard, or the ground. And then as our understanding of where we were evolved into what it is today, we started calling the planet Earth, evidently. So yeah, I enjoyed this. I like the back and forth with Mjolnir a little bit more than I did last issue. And it's cool too, Thor exploring his I am also the son of the earth kind of thing. And I feel like they're really building up a Thor is Thor. He is not somebody who wields Mjolnir kind of thing. Like which is a cool story arc for Thor. Like I am a powerful entity in my own right. And it's Thor in the Marvel Universe has always been about holding that hammer. So this is an interesting progression.
Yeah, you know what? I realized we've read maybe like the last 3 of these, because because it just always comes out and it's always
Hmm.
mildly interesting. Do you guys want to continue reading Thor?
I think we should. I mean, it's part
Because
4 of 5. So for
I
this
was
week, yeah.
the end of this arc is an anniversary issue, I believe, because it's the 60th
Yeah.
anniversary of Thor, and I think it's issue 24 is like a jam issue. I think JMS is coming back and Simonson, and they're doing a bunch of. So it's like the end of this arc, and then more Thor-ness. So maybe we'll just like see how it goes from there.
Sounds cool.
Sure. Stretching my back.
Oh, okay.
Still, it's a great book. Thor is great. It was just that one panel where I was like, come on, Donnie. What you doing, Donnie? All right, that's the books for the week. But we're not done yet.
Oh,
We're going to talk about Peacemaker, son.
Did everybody finish it?
I finished it.
I did.
Okay.
That's everybody.
Hey, we did it. This show. All right, so we went and saw. Did Nolan and I go to see the Suicide Squad? James Gunn, the Suicide Squad.
Yep.
And it was already approved that it was going to be. He had already shot, I think, wrote and shot the HBO Max TV show before Guardians of the before the Suicide Squad came out.
I didn't know that.
And after the what?
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so we walk out of the theater, and I was like, "Wait, which one of these guys is getting his own show?" It's Peacemaker, and I was like, "Oh, really? That guy? Who's that? John Cena? Oh, all right." And it just, out of all of the characters in that movie, he was the one I was the least interested in having a side quest with. But I thought, all right, James Gunn, he hasn't done me wrong, I think, ever. I don't think he's ever made a movie I haven't enjoyed. If I can't think of it at the moment, if he has. And then this dropped, and we watched it, and I was like, fuck, all right, you win, James Gunn. You've done it again. This is delightful. You've given this character pathos, even though I really didn't like him in the movie. They sort of explain where he's coming from, where he's been, his motivations, his insecurities, his favorite music. This was delightful top to bottom. And it was big and bombastic and crazy in the last episode, as I was hoping it would be with the cow. All of the characters were interesting. Them as a team had a lot of really fun dynamic. Really, really into it. Eagly, I think I might do a sticker. I think I want to do my next sticker is going to be Peacemaker and Eagly doing the hug.
Nice.
Just because I want one. So yeah. Anyway, I thought this was great. I'm excited that there's a season 2. Hopefully, the second season can keep it up. I would have liked to have seen other Suicide Squad members show up, but maybe we'll get that in season 2. I did not care about the big reveal at the end of the last episode. It was a cute little moment, but those versions of those characters have been sullied for me by the past 10 years of bad DC movies. So I didn't really care that they showed up. I guess that's it. What did you think, Brian?
I liked it a lot. I think I felt pretty similarly when I heard that this was the character that was coming out of the Suicide Squad with the series. I was like, all right, that's cool and all, but why that one? And it turned out to be great. It's an excellent mix of humor and emotional realizations and explorations. The relationships between the different characters are all outstanding, mostly with him and each individual character, like Kanamos, and we would be remiss not to mention Vigilante, who is phenomenal. He's great. I wasn't sure that we would ever see him out of the mask, when he first shows up, although I'm glad that we did. But he's so physically expressive in costume. And just the way that he moves and acts and speaks are all very niche, he nails it. And I was noticing in the opening number, the opening dance.
Oh,
Phenomenal.
so good. So
And
good.
yeah, I believe when it first came out, we were talking on the chat. No, this like the captivating nature of its woodenness is
Yeah.
like
It's
remarkable.
the dead eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And each character, like I think you pointed out, Nola, that the one character, Adebayo's wife, is doing the dance but giving the middle fingers. And this last one or two, I really noticed Vigilante is like this much more expressive guy in the dance.
Yeah.
Which fits
Doing
his
flips and stuff.
Yeah. And even when he's doing the moves that everyone else is doing, he's like more fluid.
Yeah,
which-
they
very
did all the
character-driven.
they did all the choreography in character. Like
Yeah,
Hardcore
yeah.
is hella wooden intentionally. Economos has like that one moment in the background where he's like putting his own swing on things, but no one else is around. Like, yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's
So-
hella impressive.
While we're talking about the musical number,
Yes.
what nice little thing was the choreographer was James Gunn asked the choreographer to create choreography that non-dancers could do. So she went home and worked on it with her husband. Then they came in to teach the actors, and she brought her husband, Alan Tudyk, to teach all the actors their moves. Because
Yeah.
he was the non-dancer at home who learned the moves to see if it was doable. Which
Just awesome
delightful
and
story.
everything.
I love Alan.
Yeah.
Anytime Alan Tudyk shows up in any capacity, it
Yeah.
makes the project better.
So I hope you're watching Resident Alien. If we could sidetrack for one sentence, it's a
Not
phenomenal show. It's great. I highly
Oh, I'll
recommend
have
it.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The scene at the end of which you spoke. Are we spoiling it? Are we saying who showed up?
It's a week old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Guys, we're going to say who shows up at the end of Peacemaker. If you don't want to hear about that, then you should not be listening right after this. It's the Justice League from Zack Snyder's Justice League. And it really felt to me, in a great way, like in a comic that is of the Peacemaker type nature, when other characters who are never really like that behave in that way because they're in that comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Justice League would not say the things they wouldn't say that probably. But in a Peacemaker story they would. And everything kind of gets bent through that.
I would
lens.
presume you would hate that.
I normally would, but it's not really. No, scratch that. I wouldn't normally. It's a quick gag, right?
Mhm.
I don't really see it as being deeply canon, you know. Even though yes, it happens. And
What did the Justice League say? Wasn't there only like one line? One
it was
from
like 2 lines.
Aquaman and one from Flash, right? It was like,
Yeah, but
I hate
it was
rumor,
essentially
and Flash teases him and says it's not a rumor. He goes, "Fuck you,"
Right.
or something like that.
It's not wildly out of character. It's maybe just a little bit, right? Like.
I think Aquaman is
Yeah.
definitely the kind of guy who would say "fuck you." He just hasn't been allowed
That's
to
true.
up until now because he
That's a
hasn't
good
been
point.
in a rated R project.
Right,
That
that's
version
true.
of Aquaman absolutely says "fuck you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of to me feels a little bit like when Justice League members might show up in a Constantine story. And they would behave a little more like Constantine's world. And I don't know, it just doesn't register much. It's not a story about them. It's just like seeing them in one panel. Yeah. So I thought it was cool. It worked. It's not like my favorite outing of the Justice League, but yeah.
Right. It did make me go, see now they. I remembered when there was a cameo, a Superman cameo in Shazam, and I'm still bummed that they didn't just like have Henry Cavill there. Like, just don't do it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
At least this
but
way. I mean, Henry
was
Cavill
okay.
wasn't here, but like at least you could
You had
pretend he
two of
was
the
a
other
little
ones.
bit. Yeah.
Right. If it was just the silhouettes, oh, that could have been fine too. Actually, if they did it right. But yeah,
he was James Gunn was asked like, how come just those 4 and not the other ones? If this is the canon you're working on, and blah blah blah. And he had like a cagey answer about how he's not exactly sure what he's allowed to say and not say, but there was reasons as to why some characters showed up and some weren't, because they might be being worked on and blah blah blah. And I was like, whatever, it's fine. It's a throwaway gag.
Available.
It's yeah.
Did you hear why Ezra Miller was involved?
What? Oh,
There was-
yeah.
that they were so Jason Momoa was always on board, and then somewhere along the way they found out through a mutual friend that Ezra Miller was a big fan of James Gunn's movies.
Oh.
So he was like, "Oh, do you want to be in this thing?" Oh, and then Marvel shot that scene. Did you read about that too?
Yeah, they got approval to do it, and he's in the middle of filming Guardians, so he got the Marvel crew to shoot that one like insert of Barry. So Marvel technically shot a DC project.
And they shot, I think it was like kind of a return for the Suicide Squad had shot the test footage of the guy who played Myrn is going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So they had shot that, and it's cool.
I like the show a lot. I like every second of it. There's to plug another podcast, Pop Culture NPR's Pop Culture Happy Hour had some not positive things to say about it, and they were correct.
What were those things?
That the structure of each episode is absolutely the same. The way that James Gunn writes dialogue is absolutely the same every single time. It's an earnest character, an idiot character. They're saying something and they stop the scene to comment on something that was said and then joke about it.
That's literally
That's
what
everything.
I was going to say. Yeah,
over and over again.
There was a couple of scenes throughout this where I'm like, oh, okay, you guys are going to find the helmet. It's time to do a bit. We're looking for a helmet. The two of us are together in the woods. Time to have a bit.
He's been doing that.
That got a little stale.
The gentleman that was making the comments binged 6 episodes. So yes, the pattern was incredibly clear. However, on a weekly basis, it was fine. This was a delightful show. I loved every second of it. The action was really, really impressive. It was a lot of really, really fun, creative handheld stuff. And then when it did get big in special effectsy, it didn't look like shit. So I was like, this is fun. Yeah, this is really fun.
Yeah, we seem to be in a time where TV can look as cool as movies. Which is very cool.
I heard a rumor that he is after Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, that he's going to focus more on television, which makes sense.
There was there's going to be another season of this. No idea when, but he is working on something another TV project for DC, and I think he said that it's Suicide Squad related or adjacent. Cool. I was like, at this point, I don't care. Like, if it was an ambush bug show, I would still probably give it a shot. Like, I don't care. Like, just something that's cool.
Gun.
Yeah.
I was a little worried at the end there, so Myrn's out, and even if the butterfly had gone into somebody else, that actor is out. And then I was a little worried a bit in the reverse that I was like, oh, did they just kill Harcourt?
Yeah, that pissed me. I was gonna riot. Like, this is the best new character of your show,
right? And you if you weren't getting a season 2, I could understand a little bit more. And I was like, oh, are they gonna have a butterfly go into her? I guess that would be all right, but it wouldn't be the same character.
Yeah. It would be like what they did to Fred and Angel.
Yeah,
made her.
It'd be exactly
Illyria.
Fred, come on.
Illyria, that's right. That broke my heart.
I know, right? They did make a pretty deep Flash reference though when she could move fast.
Jennifer Holland, the actress that plays Harcourt, that they're engaged. That's James Gunn's fiance. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, this show was a fucking delight. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
And the soundtrack. The songs are so terrible, but so catchy.
The opening theme is a great song. It's like, it's rocking.
Do I want to taste it? I don't know.
I think you do.
Yes.
Do I? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And then something else. What was the other thing?
The book.
The book of Boba. Oh, Kevin's down in the chat saying, "Don't remind me of Fred."
She's dead.
That's a real bummer.
Oh, when she turns, when she's like in mid-sentence, I think, when she just like turns on the stairs and spits blood and falls over. Oh, that got me.
They're getting ready for their date.
And they made such a point as to be like, not only is she dead, her soul is gone.
Yeah.
Like she's out. She is not around.
And
that was really good Angel at that time.
That's
yeah.
honestly, that's the best. Season 5 is the best season of all Buffyverse.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Really?
Especially like, yeah, that whole Wolfram and Hart season is the best
Hmm.
season of all the Buffy shows or the Buffy related shows. And just the way that the Wesley and Illyria stuff is wrapped up is just so
That was
spectacular.
very
Like,
cool.
would
That
you
was
like me
cool.
to lie to you now? He's like, yes, please.
Yeah.
Like,
Because they
just-
were about to
Right.
finally go out on a date, right? Like they weren't dating.
yeah.
Were they?
Yeah.
I always liked Angel. I think like peak for me was the season where they wind up in the other reality, the other dimension.
Season
that,
2.
is that
That's
season
the end of
2?
season 1, dude.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, is that when Connor happens?
No.
That's season 3.
Connor was such a little shit.
Yeah.
I hate
Well,
that
wait.
kid.
4 actually. So he has the kid in season 2, 3. He's in hell the whole season, and then like the end of 3, beginning of 4.
Yeah.
It's a
I
shame.
think-
It's all. I mean, I haven't gone back to revisit it, but knowing what happened with Charisma Carpenter during all that stuff, like really
Yeah.
fucking.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
But
sorry.
on the other
What were
hand, I mean, if you go back and revisit it, Charisma Carpenter is also helped. You know what I mean? It's a very complicated issue because you're watching something that she was in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean is a lot of people contributed to that show.
Yes.
We're not gonna have that conversation. It's
What'd you guys think
10:50.
of
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett? I got to go do my orders. But Book of Boba Fett, we finished that up, and it was a really good Mandalorian season 3, season
2.5.
Yeah.
2.5.
I felt the way I think a lot of people felt, which is like, oh, this Boba Fett stuff is fine. Oh, here we go. Okay, Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, great. I'm here for this a little bit more. And then I think the finale was really fun. I don't know if people were complaining about it online. I imagine they were because you can't stop them from doing it. They'll find anything to be upset about. But I really like when that motherfucker comes over riding a Rancor, galloping over the rooftops, and then hams up those not droidicals, those like Uber droidicals, whatever those are called. Fuck me, man. I was literally cheering. I was clapping and like really excited. I was pumped.
Fuck. I'm sorry to revert. You reminded me because you said people online complaining. I am shocked that there aren't tons and tons of like purist mouth breather assholes complaining about Vigilante in Peacemaker. Because it is absolutely in no way, shape, or form anything like Adrian Chase in the comics.
I don't think enough people care about Vigilante from the comics.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Like, pull anything out. Yeah.
It's because he wasn't replaced by a woman or a black person.
Oh, because he's white. Well, I mean,
the only time it's a problem is when Taskmaster is like, oh no, it's a woman now. Oh, they ruined Taskmaster. You know.
Did people complain about Bloodsport? Is he black usually?
I don't think anybody knew about Bloodsport.
Oh, I remember Bloodsport from John Byrne's Superman run.
I knew more about Adrian Chase than Bloodsport, especially because he's been on TV.
Bloodsport was black, wasn't he?
Was he?
I think he was.
I think Bloodsport was black in the John Man. Yeah.
You know, also Peacemaker is not usually like this. Like that was the whole show, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Either way, sorry. Book of Boba Fett, the finale was great, and I remember having this like when I thought it was incredibly ballsy to just at 5 episodes or at the 5th episode just tell a different story for 2 episodes. Like I thought, at least maybe I would have gotten it or understood it more if they were interspersing between Boba and Mando for like 2 episodes. But no, they were like, fuck this. Gonna be they didn't do that. Like it literally was almost an entire episode of Mando and then a half episode, which
that's what I'm saying. It felt I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, choppy makes me think like jerky, whereas maybe jarring because we stayed there is what I'm trying to say. Like we stayed there.
Gotcha.
After that,
I'm going by episodes.
Right? Oh, okay.
I mean, like the season itself felt choppy. Like they just sort of like chopped it up and threw in. Like, oh, we'll just put in these 2 episodes now of this other stuff. Jamie,
I still think that it was by design 2 separate shows. They knew that they knew what they were going to do at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian, but they also knew that like Pedro Pascal was going to go film another TV show and something else. So it almost feels like Boba Fett was designed to be a stopgap season because they only had actors for like a couple of weeks, which I'm totally fine with. It didn't make it less. It just was like, all right, cool. And I wasn't, when they did all the Luke and Grogu stuff, I didn't want Grogu to go back to Mando so quickly. I was telling JD this. I was just like, I feel like they just left each other, like maybe stretch it out. What are the characters like away from each other?
Yeah.
But then when they did reunite, I was like, no, this is fine.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. This is great.
Yeah. This stupid little walk.
Yeah. Well, when he just jumped up and hugged him, I was just like,
ah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
And I love the Starfighter.
I'm an easy mark, man. What's that?
I love the Starfighter. I love the Naboo Starfighter. It's like one of my
I
favorite
fucking
ships.
hate that. I hate the Starfighter, and I'll tell you why.
Much.
No goddamn sense. Like, it's a cool ship, and it's a real fun reference to the prequels. Very cool. The fact that he is a bounty hunter whose job is to go out and collect human bodies to then turn in for money, and you have a one-person car.
Yeah.
The only other spot is like a spot for a droid, like,
which is occupied now.
Wait, but he's been getting by with literally no ship, and then you just take other shuttles if you have to actually bring anybody back to someplace. It's fine.
I think
a lot of his jobs could be on planet. It's not a big deal.
From one place to another, like he gets from planet to planet, but once he's there, he's like
the job is on planet. It's not a big deal. And or he could just ship the ship, take a shuttle.
It's dumb as shit. I don't like it. But
it's the coolest thing in the world.
I thought he was going to get a new ship by the end of that episode because he mentioned something like, as soon as you get another Razor Crest, let me get it.
Yeah.
Give me a call and I'll trade this one in. So I thought that ship was gonna be a big deal for the finale of Boba Fett.
Yeah, and then he would find another. Yeah,
exactly. And that's not how it turned out to be, but it's meaningful that we're discussing the Mandalorian so much in this because definitely the first 2 episodes of this, I was like, when's the Mandalorian coming back? This is cool. Where's the Mandalorian, man? And then he showed up way earlier than expected, and that was great.
Yeah.
I mean, that was definitely the best episode up to that point of the show. Was the one that was about the Mandalorian.
The end of episode 4 is when, Fennec and Boba are just like, we're gonna need some help. I think I know who to ask. And then they do the little Mandalorian music.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at my wife. I'm like, oh, we're gonna see Mandalorian the next episode. And I thought that they were gonna just kind of like stretch it out a little bit, but no. Literally, the first fucking shot of the show is him walking in a room, and I'm like, oh, cool. We're gonna find out where he's been. They're probably going to cut to it was an hour.
It's an episode of the Mandalorian
of Mandalorian. I'm like, this is great.
If they made a DVD of the Mandalorian, that should probably be on it.
Right? Yeah.
Show, right?
But I know that they're different titles. They should have their own like narrative strength, and I do think that Boba Fett was strong enough if it was just 4 episodes of its own thing, but. That I know I've seen some people complaining online that like if it was going to be Mandalorian and a half, just fucking call it that. Or now I got to watch all the Star Wars shows because they're all connected and you never. I'm like,
oh yeah, they definitely should have called it Mandalorian and a half.
Well, just
like a wacky.
It's complaining that they got what they wanted in a place they didn't want it, and I just find that incredibly stupid.
They will. Also, Star Wars fans will complain about any goddamn thing.
Yeah.
They can also just watch it the same. With no additional money, the same way that they were watching The Mandalorian. They've obviously heard about it. Yeah. You just go watch it if that's what you want.
It's just so silly. Like, it's like, look, I want this. No, not like that. No, not like that. No, different. Like, it's just shut up.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, I think we talked about it on the show, and or maybe off. And JD, you mentioned that the cybernetic people who had the hover bikes. You said, oh, they're also mods, like they're cybernetic. Is there another usage of that word?
Yeah.
Mods are a group from the 60s, group of...
Oh, that kind of mod.
punks who had Vespas and scooters, and they were part of the under. What?
They would also dress very prippy too, like blazers and ties, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know Vespas were part of that aesthetic. I know about the mods. I know about the squad of mods, the mod squad. There was a movie in the 90s, remember?
I remember that it existed, but I've never seen it.
There was there was a TV show in the 70s,
no.
and then they made a movie about it.
That is accurate. What I meant is, like, that's how I came into it. Like, I was aware that the mod squad existed, but then the movie came out in the 90s, and I watched it with my dad, and he was like, that was fine. But the show was cool. But I didn't know that these people would fit into that mod.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the Star Wars version of mods.
All right.
But they're also physically modified, which I thought was just like cute.
It's short for modern, right?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be
like mid-century modern was big just before that, and modernism, and that was in a lot of cultural words at the time.
What made the show better than anything else, Book of Boba Fett I'm talking about, you know what? Also retroactively what made Mandalorian better show as well, is the inclusion of Timothy Olyphant as Cobb Vanth.
The handsomest man on planet Earth.
Do you guys know
planet
he was in the
Tatooine?
movie Go.
Yeah, of course.
Remember him? I did not.
I've been following his career for decades now.
Yeah,
I saw and loved Go, but I didn't know who he was at the time.
He's the drug dealer. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've been following him since Scream 2, where he played Mickey, the Tarantino film student.
He's so good.
I wondered about him because he certainly doesn't seem to die in the scene where he gets shot in the shoulder, right? Then they later say, like, "Oh, he died," and I'm like, "There's no way."
Did you watch the whole show?
Yeah, no, I know what happens at the end, but during the show, they're like, he died.
The dude, I actually went back and I was like, there's no way that he just got died from that. And the townsfolk, the Freeman townsfolk, said that he was shot in cold blood. Didn't say he died. Like he was shot. He shot him down in cold blood. All right. Because I'm like, there's no way you kill somebody that handsome.
Exactly. Who does that Cad Bane think he is?
A bat.
That was cool. That was cool when Bane showed. I thought that was cool as hell. I thought he looked really good.
He did look really cool, and it was a shame that he wasn't a bigger part of this show. I really feel like the backstory with the Tusken Raiders could have been a lot less. And just all the same stuff happened, but less of that. And it maybe would have been great to have some Cad Bane backstory, because they talk to each other as though they have known each other a very long time, and that they have a lot of dealings that I know have been in the show, the animated series. And, since Boba Fett was a kid, or at least young enough that an older man would call him a kid. And when Fett kills him, feels like something that's probably very monumental and meaningful to him, but there's not even a quick flashback during that fight of them, some history to give us a grounding to it, Yeah.
Just a little something. I agree. Like, I don't need it, but I think it would have helped the dramatic.
There's the magnitude of it. That is the finishing fight for this show, has kind of boiled down to that. That was Fett's big moment. And I knew from the dialogue that they had a history, and I bought it, but it didn't seem as big as it probably did if you'd seen all of the animated series. And then Fennec Shand goes off and takes everybody else out. Like, a lot of the cool stuff was done by her, which seemed very anticlimactic, because she's earlier on in the episode, she's like, I got to get there if I can make it in time.
Yeah.
She takes a detour. They take care of everything. Then she kind of sneaks in and kills them in a pretty cool scene, but in what seemed like it was probably what should have been the clinching move, like their do or die kind of thing, but was actually just kind of an epilogue. to the main.
Yeah,
battle.
it was just like an afterthought.
Right.
And even with Cad Bane, even if they didn't show us their past history and how important that was with more than just dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
making it so Cad Bane was the one who murdered his Sand People family.
Yes. Yeah.
The Tusken Raiders. Like if he was the one who killed all the Tusken Raiders, we found that
I would
out.
have had more. Yeah. Even if there was just more dialogue, it would have gone. You know, it was like 2 lines in the final fight that really implied that they had some history. But yeah, they even say like, I mean, Bane is like, oh no, those other people killed the Tusken Raiders, and then Fennec Shand kills them. So there's no real revenge for that, and they don't take the Tusken Raider thing into account at all, which is fine. You know, sometimes that's how it is in the world. Not every element of your life plays into a big moment later on in your life.
Yeah.
But I just saw the movie Licorice Pizza, which was a lot like that. And it's certainly not something that we're used to in stories, but it's not wrong. It's not a bad choice. So, yeah. The stuff with Cobb Vanth at the end, I really feel like they want something cool for him to have that isn't the Fett armor, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So now that that's gone, they figured out a way to give him
They're gonna
not
mod
just
him
a
up.
regular guy. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm in. I'm down with that.
And Mars Comics is in the chat asking, he was in the tank at the end, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Cobb
That
Vanth
was
was in
tough-
the back to tank.
You couldn't tell by his pristine,
his shaded shadowed profile.
his pristine profile.
I definitely had to
Although I
rewind
did
a
like-
couple of times to make sure.
I like that twist. I like that slight little twist where someone tells Boba, we got to get you in that back to tank. And he goes, oh no, it's in use already. But because we just had a conversation between Boba Fett and
Black Chrysanthemum.
Black Chrysanthemum.
Something,
Like, you use the back to tank. You kind of assume it's him.
That was
then
cool.
when they show you that it's Cobb Vanth, I was like, oh, nice. Good on you guys.
Yeah. Oh, I know I have a question for you guys. They're Grogu and all of them, they're in that sort of droid-powered cart thing, right? It seems to me like Grogu is a character on American Dad. No. Sorry. That's Rogu. His name is Grogu. It seemed to me that he caused the thing to explode. Did you guys get that impression at all? And
what thing?
The droid that was pulling the cart. It seemed like he did that. Oh, okay.
No, I didn't get that. No.
All right,
could have, but
it's entirely possible, and I missed it.
But there was no payoff to it. There was no apparent reason that he was like, oh, I said something and we had to stop, or So I didn't get it. Here's another thing I didn't get. They're fighting these battle droids, and Mandalorian's like, we can't use our energy weapons, and our kinetic weapons are too fast. And I'm thinking, could you walk? Could you walk in?
Dude,
it seems like
I was saying that the whole time to my wife as we're watching. I'm like, just slowly walk through the shield. So in episode 1, the Gungans create a shield, and then the droid army their blasters aren't able to get through. So throughout the show, I think at one point they roll a grenade very slowly through the shield, and that's able to get through. And if you see in episode 1, the droids just slow down and sort of just slowly walk into the shield. I'm wondering if that's because that was in the prequels. These are just modified shields, which are stronger than that. Because we do see some character, isn't it? Black Chrysanthemum, who tries to put his hand through, and it electrifies him.
And he's finally able to get in, walk through it slowly when they damage it at least enough on one side for him.
Where it gets all red and damaged.
Yeah, so because I thought the same thing too, because I'm thinking of prequel rules, motherfucker, just walk through, avoid here and go there. But they
he even said,
it.
our projectiles can't get in because they're moving too fast, or something like that, and didn't say anything about I would also be moving too fast if I was to walk in. But they definitely seem to, even when he gets in there, and he's like, He like got the Darksaber right at it. I'm like, all right, that's the end of that droid. That was not the end of that droid. It took another few seconds for that droid to fall down. So,
Yeah, I expected the
overall,
Dark Blade
cool.
to be stronger, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's having some trouble with it.
Yeah. It's
So
heavier.
I imagine that will be probably brought up in the
Maybe
next
because
thing.
it's the God of Swords.
Could be the God of Swords.
It's Valifax.
Now, do you guys think that Grogu chose the Mandalorian armor or the Mandalorian armor and the lightsaber as well? Those are the only two options in my mind, right? Even before we saw the final one.
Wait,
it's like
it's not a choice if you could take both.
I mean, that was the choice presented to him.
But
I wonder
like, fuck
if
you. I'm getting both.
and he scurried away. No, I wonder if that will be if not in this episode, if that's the arc for the upcoming Mandalorian, that there does not need to be that sharp of a distinction. Like, they're playing a lot into, Mandalorian said, oh, the Jedi are like the opposite of us. They don't like attachment. We're all about attachment.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that will be something. It's what I really wanted for Luke. Was a little disappointed that he wasn't already like here, and was very disappointed in the sequel trilogies that like I thought it would have been really cool if they realized that dark and light side is the wrong way to look at it, and the no attachment stuff is not so smart, and all that stuff.
I think that they, for the purposes of like the story, to keep the two characters together, but then also not keep them in the same kind of stagnant situation, was sending Grogu off to learn a couple of things so they could level him up and then bring him back. Like, in hindsight, it feels like that's what they were doing, which I'm totally okay with. I don't want a Luke Skywalker series where he's teaching kids. I just don't.
Oh no, I don't think that's.
Well, no, I didn't say that.
Right?
That's what you were saying. Yeah. That's where it's headed, but that's where like people are wishing that it would go, and like, oh, we shouldn't. Like, no, I like this decision.
If we didn't know where he ended up in the sequel trilogy.
Yes, we don't already have
and I would be all about
it.
it. And I am hoping that his lines with Ahsoka mean that he will be showing up in the Ahsoka series. Because I was all about it. This is the Luke that I wanted to get a look at. Much more so than the one that we got in the other movies. And I'm interested to see what happens. And maybe he will. Who knows? Maybe
you want to see all this. You want to see all the Messiah stuff before he's proven incorrect in his.
Maybe they'll change time or something, and that won't happen. But probably not.
I actually liked. I liked how this one tied into the sequels, because you do see that Luke is headed down the same wrong path that the other Jedi have all gone down, and his whole thing is to like, because every choice that I'm just like, just let Mando see the kid. What are you doing? There's no reason not to let dude see the kid. And they're like, oh, it'll be too difficult for him. Fuck you. That's not your decision to make.
Hard.
Oh, my dad stopped by and brought me a shirt. Now I'm sad. Like, what? Are you kidding? Especially since Grogu literally sees. He sees the
ship.
What's the ship take off? He knows that Mando is there and didn't say hi. Does that make him go like, why didn't he come say hi to me?
Also, it doesn't have to be a once and done thing. They could see each other every so often.
I do not romanticize the Jedi Order. Yeah.
No. Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is that Luke at the end? Luke at the Last Jedi is correct. His statement about the Jedi and how the Jedi were so full of hubris that they caused their own extinction. 100% on point. All of the audiobooks that I'm listening to, where they sort of like detail the Jedi Order and all the different things they have to do, the more and more I spend with the Jedi Order, the more I go, oh yeah, this is a cult that sucks. And they're doing things the wrong way, and they're cutting themselves off from, love and relationships. Although in the High Republic novel I just read, one of the Jedi straight up fucks. He wakes up in a bed naked, like he had sex the night before with somebody, and he kind of regrets it.
That's what I thought. The Star Wars 9-episode saga happens a long, long time ago. It's the like monumental cultural tale of whatever society is the present of that galaxy, right? And all of that stuff kind of came up in the prequels, and then the result of it was the events that they dealt with in the original trilogy. And from what I understand about the novels, they go a bit of a different way with things. And that's what I thought I would have much rather have seen is like, oh, there's actually a change to, like, this was how we moved past looking at it as a dark and light side. This is how we got past Jedi and Sith. Luke was able to see a better way. And
the books,
Gray Jedi.
Yeah.
The books did that. The books did that in real. Like you're talking about, like the Legends books, like the Timothy Zahn stuff. They did that in real time, kind of showing you the progression. The sequel movies ignored all of that in order to tell a reintroduction story.
Yeah.
It was Rian Johnson who connected the dots that, hey, maybe this 30-year cycle is damaging as fuck. So like they couldn't at that point, after J.J. Abrams makes his choice, they couldn't retroactively like, well, we're going to tell you a past tale of how all these characters lived happily ever after building.
I thought that they were headed to, he's gone off at the end of the first one, and he's at a place where the old Jedi texts are, and you don't know what he's been doing. I thought he had gone off to like do something. You know what I mean? Like he had gone off to advance.
If he had gone off to do something, he would be findable. He literally went off. They had to. The whole purpose of the first film, the seventh film, is we don't know where Luke is. He's hiding. We have to find him. And we have to find the piece of a map to get it to R2 so that we can find out where he is. So J.J. Abrams set up that whole plot. Like, he's hermit now. He's hiding.
I didn't get that from that movie. I thought he had gone off to like, I'm reclusive, but because I'm on a crazy journey where I'm like I'm tracing to the very origins of the Jedi to find out.
Why would he not be able to? Why wouldn't he have a comm on to be like, hey, Leia,
he's like too far away. He's either too far away or it's like he's got to be so secluded. That's where I thought they were headed at the end of the first movie. And then they went with the whole, I reject the whole Jedi thing, but don't learn anything from it or advance it in any way.
Even prior to the new movies, I was not a fan of the interpretation of Luke as some paragon or messiah within the Force. I always found that defeating the purpose or the point.
Then why is the story about him? Like, why is this the epic tale?
That's just the story. That's the story that they were telling. That bloodline. That every other material outside of like just the Skywalkers, the Force existed in millions and many others. You know what I mean? Like it's a democratized thing. We were just only focusing on this one family, as does like the fucking whatever, like the family in Dallas, because it's just a soap opera, right? That doesn't mean that there aren't other billionaire tycoons and their own journeys. Like it's just
but they don't have a prophecy about them. There was in Dallas,
but the prophecy wasn't about Luke. He fulfilled the kind of he checked the boxes of the prophecy if it was true,
or Vader did. One of the
or
other
Vader did. Exactly. It's not. It wasn't. Luke was never Jesus Christ to me. So the whole thing, all of the stuff that came out about like The Last Jedi and how you've ruined my childhood and you've ruined this great character, it made sense to me because also every single Jedi that we had seen up until that point that didn't get murdered or killed became disillusioned and cranky. Because it's like the natural progression, if you didn't die early, was to realize that maybe this wasn't the right way to share your gifts.
But he kind of already figured that out in the original trilogy, right? Like he's like, no, check it, I'm out of here. I gotta go save my friends. He seemed like he was on a different path, a path of more love.
At the end of the third one?
Or whichever one it was, where he leaves Yoda and then he turns Vader back to the light side through the power of love and connection,
Sure.
Yeah. That to me seems like what the Star Wars saga should be the the main cultural myth of the society that it is in long ago, thousands of years ago. And that there's some reason that like there is some massive change from episode 1 of the prequels, like the way their world is then to the end. And that's why this story is told.
To that point,
yeah,
The Last Jedi should have been the massive change for whatever is beyond this just one family's struggle, right? Like, because I almost feel like it would be great if The Last Jedi or a version of The Last Jedi was actually was part 7. So because like in narrative fiction, being able to take your characters and grind them down to a ground, just like to a smooth nub, and there's nowhere for them to go to build them back up into something stronger. That happened at the end of The Last Jedi. And it feels as though the filmmakers were too chicken shit to follow through with that and build something new. And they just created a middle movie that they explained in an opening scroll and then proceeded to hit fan service notes for 2.5 hours. That didn't make sense.
Well, and I also feel like they didn't hit enough, because there was probably marketability involved, and they're like, we want new characters. Whereas I loved almost all of those new characters.
Yeah.
I would have preferred them maybe show up a little bit in that movie, and then there's a later movie that stars Rey and Finn and Poe. But the sequel trilogy, I think, would have been great if it was like older Luke and Han and Leia.
Yeah. I was talking to
Harrison Ford would have been willing to do it.
I was talking to somebody in the shop about this yesterday, and I have to leave, so I'm sorry. But I was talking to somebody about the shop yesterday. I put on the prequel trilogy. They are not good movies. I do not enjoy them, but they are charming. They're consistent, and they have one solid through line that doesn't divert.
Yes.
And in those aspects alone, collectively, they may be stronger than the sequel trilogy.
I have no idea why they did not, knowing they were making 3 movies, plan out a 3-movie story.
With that said, though, The Last Jedi is my second favorite Star Wars movie across all 9. Period.
Same.
So, like, my favorite movie exists, and I feel is the weakest trilogy.
Yeah. What's number 1? Empire Strikes Back?
Empire, yeah.
For me,
it's Empire, Last, Star Wars, Jedi, Sith, Menace, Clones.
All right.
I'm not putting the Rogue One and Solo in there.
Main
Those are just great. Yeah.
Only. Yeah.
Anyway, I have to leave, guys. I'm so sorry.
All right.
I love you.
Right on.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the middle of doing my orders.
No, all right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We will see you next week, next Monday night at 9 p.m., the day after my B-Day.
For more Star Wars talk. No,
that's it. We're out of here. Love you. Email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com. Join our Patreon, Johnny Destructo, blah, blah, blah.